I heard them laughing before I even stepped into the room. My name came up like a punchline. Not loud. Not cruel. Just, casual. Mark? Yeah, he's still trying to figure his life out. My dad said it so easily, like it was a fact everyone already agreed on. And the worst part? No one corrected him. Not my mom. Not my brother. Not even my sister, who used to defend me when we were kids. They just laughed. Softly. Comfortably. Like I wasn't even there. I stood in the hallway, just out of sight, frozen for a moment. Not shocked. Not even hurt in the way you'd expect. It felt deeper than that. Like something finally settled into place. A quiet realization. They had already decided who I was. And nothing I did was going to change that. So I walked in. Took my seat. And stayed quiet. Dinner went on like normal. My older brother Jason talked about his new promotion, his voice full of confidence, like he already belonged in a world I hadn't even been invited into. My mom lit up every time he spoke. My dad leaned forward, asking questions, offering advice, nodding with pride. "That's my boy," he said at one point, smiling like he had everything figured out. I looked down at my plate. Picked at my food. Nodded when someone glanced my way. But inside, something had already shifted. I wasn't angry. I wasn't trying to prove anything anymore. I just understood. In their eyes, I wasn't someone to be taken seriously. I was the still figuring it out guy. The one who hadn't made it. The one who probably wouldn't. And for the first time, I stopped fighting that image. Because maybe I didn't need to. Growing up, I wasn't the problem. I wasn't rebellious. I didn't get into trouble. If anything, I tried too hard to do everything right. But somehow, that never translated into respect. Jason didn't have that problem. He had confidence. Charisma. The kind of personality that filled a room without effort. People listened to him. Believed him. My parents understood him. He fit into their idea of success. Me? I was quieter. More observant. The kind of person who thought before speaking. And in my family, that came off as hesitation. Uncertainty. My dad used to say, "You need to be more assertive, Mark. The world doesn't wait for people like you. People like me." I never asked what that meant. Because deep down, I already knew. After high school, the difference became impossible to ignore. Jason went off to a big university. My parents helped him with everything, tuition, rent, even a car. They visited him often. Posted pictures. Talked about him like he was already successful, even before he had done anything. Meanwhile, I stayed home. Not because I didn't have ambition. Because I didn't have support. I worked random jobs. Saved what I could. Took online courses at night. Paid for everything myself. And every time I tried to explain what I was working on, I saw the same reaction. Confusion. Polite nods. Then a quick shift back to Jason. So eventually, I stopped explaining. I stopped trying to make them understand something they didn't care to understand. Instead, I went quiet. Not defeated. Focused. Late nights became normal. My room turned into my world. An old laptop, a weak internet connection, and a growing obsession with something they couldn't see. I got into online business. At first, it was curiosity. Then it became something more. A challenge. A way to build something that didn't rely on anyone's approval. I failed a lot. More than anyone will ever know. I lost money. Wasted time. Started over again and again. And no one saw it. No one asked. But this time, that didn't bother me. Because I wasn't doing it for them anymore. I was doing it for me. Months passed. Then years. Slowly, things started working. A small project made money. Then another. Then I figured out how to scale. Traffic. Ads. Conversions. It all started making sense. And for the first time in my life, I felt in control. I made my first real income online late one night. I remember staring at the screen, not even smiling. Just sitting there, quiet. Because I knew something no one else did. Everything was about to change. But at home? Nothing did. Dinner conversations stayed the same. Jason's career. Jason's future. Jason's success. I sat there, listening, invisible like always. But now, it didn't hurt the same. Because I wasn't empty anymore. I had something they couldn't see. Something real. The turning point came slowly. Not in one moment. But in a series of quiet wins that built into something undeniable. One of my businesses started growing fast. Faster than I expected. Revenue increased. Opportunities opened. People started reaching out. Real conversations. Real partnerships. And suddenly, I wasn't just figuring things out. I was building something real. Something big. Then one day, everything shifted. A client I worked with mentioned me in a feature article. Nothing massive. But big enough. My name. My work. Public. And somehow, my family saw it. My phone rang that night. My mom. I stared at it for a second before answering. "Mark, is this you?" she asked, her voice unsure but curious. "Yeah," I said calmly. A pause. Then something I had never heard before. "That's amazing." I didn't know how to respond. Not because I didn't have words. Because I didn't know what that meant anymore. A few days later, they invited me over. Dinner again. Same house. Same table. But something felt different the moment I walked in. My dad greeted me at the door. Smiling. Actually smiling. "Hey, son," he said, stepping aside. That never used to happen. Inside, everything looked the same. But the way they looked at me, didn't. There was a tension now. Curiosity. Something that used to belong only to Jason. We sat down. Dinner started. But then it shifted. "So, tell us about what you're doing," my dad said, leaning forward. Interested. Not dismissive. I explained. Simple. Clear. No need to impress. And for the first time, they listened. Really listened. My mom asked questions. Jason stayed quiet, watching. The roles had changed. And yet, I didn't feel what I thought I would. It didn't feel like victory. It felt distant. Because I knew the truth. Nothing about me had changed. Not really. The same person they ignored before, was sitting right in front of them now. The only difference? Now there was proof. Something they could understand. At one point, my dad leaned back and said, "I always knew you'd figure it out." I looked at him. Really looked at him. And for a moment, I almost let it go. Almost accepted it. But something inside me didn't let that happen. "No," I said calmly. "You didn't." The table went quiet. Not tense. Just still. "I'm not saying that to be harsh," I continued. "But you didn't. And that's okay." No one interrupted. So I kept going. I spent years trying to get you to take me seriously. To understand what I was doing. And when that didn't happen, I stopped trying. My mom looked down. Jason shifted slightly. I didn't build this because I had support, I said. I built it because I learned how to move without it. Silence settled over the table. But this time, it felt honest. Like something that needed to be said. Dinner ended quietly. No big apologies. No dramatic moment. Just a shift. Something unspoken, but real. After that, things changed. They reached out more. Asked about my work. Included me. But something inside me had already moved past needing it. Because the truth was simple. Their respect came after the results. Mine came before. A few weeks later, Jason called me. "Hey, can we talk?" he asked. We met at a small coffee shop. He looked different. Less confident. More real. I didn't get it before, he admitted. I thought success had to look a certain way. I nodded. I guess. I never had to struggle like you did. There was no jealousy. Just honesty. I stopped waiting for people to understand, I said. That's when everything changed. He sat there quietly. Then nodded. I respect that, he said. That word again. Respect. It used to mean everything to me. Now, it just felt like confirmation. Because I already knew my worth. When I walked out of that cafe, I didn't feel like I had one. I felt free. Free from needing approval. Free from trying to prove something to people who had already made up their minds. That night, I stood by my window, looking out at the city lights. Thinking about everything. The years of being ignored. The quiet work no one saw. The moments I almost gave up. And how none of it mattered anymore. Because success didn't change who I was. It revealed it. At the next family dinner, I sat in the same seat. Same table. Same people. But this time, everything felt different. Not because they saw me differently. Because I saw myself differently. I didn't need to fight for attention. Didn't need to prove anything. I just existed. Calm. Certain. Unshaken. And when my dad glanced at me, waiting for my input, I spoke when I wanted. Stayed quiet when I didn't. Not because I wasn't being heard. Because I didn't need to be. And for the first time in my life, that silence felt powerful.